Hello and welcome to another episode of Building Success, a real estate podcast. My name is Nick, and I will once again be your guide as we talk to some of the best and brightest in the worlds of real estate tech, operations, and financials from across the globe. This podcast would not be possible without listeners such as yourselves. So if you like what you hear and you want to hear more of it, please consider liking and subscribing to the show wherever you may listen to it, as well as reviews. Reviews are very big in helping us to gain traction on all the different sites where we're listed, whether that be Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, you name it. Hopefully we're on it, and we would love to hear a review from people such as yourselves. All of that definitely helps us know how we're doing and help get this podcast out to more listeners. So today I spoke with Daniel Ramsey. He is the founder of MyOutDesk, and we spoke about his background in real estate, but then also focused on time and how we as property managers and real estate professionals, we never seem to have enough of it. And whether it be through automation, technology, through his organization, which works with real estate virtual assistants, how you can help grasp, some of the challenges that you might have in your organization to save time, be more efficient. Really lively conversation of the state of the industry and where, Daniel sees the real estate industry going and moving into the future. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. And without further ado, here is Daniel Ramsey. So today I am joined by Daniel Ramsey, and Daniel Ramsey is the founder of MyOutDesk. Daniel, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
And despite all of the technological issues that we encountered before we started to record this podcast, I think we are officially ready to go, which is a good thing.
That's right.
But before we dive into the topic and our conversation, I just wanted the viewer or the listeners to get a sense about you, who you are, where you came from, and what ultimately brought you to founding MyOutDesk.
Yeah, sure. So I'm that serial entrepreneur. I started when I was a kid selling candies out of the back of the school bus in middle school. And I can actually trace back the exact moment that I was like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I had one Snickers bar left. It was a Friday. It was a nice warm day. And a guy comes up and says, I want to buy it. And I was like, no, I'm going to eat this one. I had tons of money from that week. I'd sold a ton of candy bars. And he shoves a $5 bill in my face. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not going to do it. So then he pulls a $20 bill out. And we're talking about in the 80s, so this is a while ago. And he shoves the $20 bill and says, give me that Snickers. And I turned it over and said, oh my God, I am in love with, business and sales. And so you fast forward, I went to school, got a finance degree, and started my first business when I was 23. And that was a real estate brokerage company. And yeah, we did property management, we did investments. I was always enamored with the idea of owning real estate. And so that's kind of how I got my start in business.
Okay. And definitely owning of real estate is top of mind in the last couple of episodes we've done here. And I know a lot of our listeners too own, operate, invest in real estate. Just, I know you worked as a broker previously. What are some of the things you've seen in the last few years as far as changes in the real estate space?
Oh man, it's crazy. First, I want to talk about why I love real estate. It's the only industry where you can actually have insider information about what a home's value is worth, who wants to sell, who wants to buy, and use that information to help you build wealth and not go to jail. If you're in the stock market and you have insider information, it's really a kind of a challenge. You can get in a lot of trouble. But in real estate, you are an operator. It's what you know best, and you can trade with insider information. So I always viewed it as a great way to grow wealth. I always thought that real estate, it was one of those things that can't be taken away. Recession or if we're in an economic expansion like we are now, It's one of those solid, asset classes that just even dumb guys can get rich. And so I thought that's the spot for me, Nick. I was like, hey, if a dumb guy can do it, I'm sure I can do it. I've got moderate intelligence. So anyways, I love real estate. I think it's the space to be in. What was your original question, though? I got off on a tangent, man.
Well, I mean, the real question is kind of what's changed over the years since you've been involved with real estate. And obviously, real estate's always been around, but it's interesting from my perspective to hear, how this intersection of like technology and software and real estate and investment and investing have like all come together to create this entirely different and unique avenue for people to not only make money, but for people to kind of build, massive companies and organizations.
Yeah, here's what I would say that has massively changed. I mean, when I was a real estate broker, I had all the power, meaning, I was a contractor, developer, mortgage guy. We managed our own properties. So I kind of saw all aspects of the real estate market. But prior to, I would say the, 2010, the broker really controlled the majority of the business, meaning, we had all the power. And I think in the early 2000s, it started to switch to whoever had the consumer's ear or the consumer's eyeballs. And I say that very specifically because I still believe real estate is a belly-to-belly sport. I still think you have to have conversations and have people's ears. But what has shifted is that used to be the way you would start a transaction, whether you're talking about a 50 million, commercial spot or a single-family residence. You started with the ear and then you moved, down the funnel. And now with the internet and technology and all these property, tech kind of companies coming out, the eyeball is really where the transactions are starting. And because the eyeball is controlling the, the transaction flow and the consumer's mindset and all of that stuff, what that means is the power has shifted away from brokers who typically used to control all of the data and back into the, pockets of either the agent, the individual who has the relationship, or the company that has the eyeball.
And it's interesting too that whole concept of the personal touch has started to kind of falter a bit because of the advancements in technology. So making things maybe operationally more efficient comes at the hands of losing what many people, the ultimate consumer, whether that be a renter or buyer of real estate, not having that personal touch anymore.
Well, here's the thing. We serve a ton of technology companies in our business, in MyOutDesk right now. And, the reality is the CRMs and all the automation tools and, everybody has the new thing is virtual assistants that are automated and kind of electronic or technology based. And all of that stuff, all of it is, we're 10 years out before it really transforms how we're doing, until it really starts to affect business or the way consumers do business. I mean, right now, you still need a person to run a database. You still need a person to create relationships and answer questions and do stuff. But as, Google gets better and AI gets better, those things are going to shift over time. Everybody wants it to be now, and it just isn't now. I'll give you an example. We serve, there's an iBuyer program that everybody's nervous about in the real estate world where, companies are coming out and buying real estate, and they say they're using an algorithm to, identify properties. And that is absolutely true. But a lot of our clients work for those programs, meaning what happened is the algorithm says, check out this house, and then they still have a boots on the ground person who goes out to the house and does an analysis and, tours it, verifies the value, verifies the condition, and really make sure that there's a return on investment. We are still in a space where a cash on cash return is what we're measuring, and an algorithm at this point can identify properties some of the time correctly, but there's still a human piece to it.
And a lot of that comes down to inspections of properties and things like that too, because you can only see so much in pictures and videos and digital walkthroughs, but some of that can even be deceiving.
Well, and here's the thing: there's such a local there's a local piece to real estate, and there always will be a local piece. Now, I do think we're going to kind of split the market, and I say split the market because transactions that are cookie cutter, I guess, would be an easy way. If you go to Phoenix, California, or Phoenix, Arizona, like 90% of their homes were built in the 70s or later. So, they're all slab, and they're all, stick built with stucco, and they all have, a particular style of roof. So in many of those neighborhoods, it's very easy to determine value. Like it's a very simple, thing. But when you go to places in the rest of the country that like I live in a 1927 brick bungalow. I own an apartment complex that was built in the 1800s. These kind of properties, there's no way an algorithm is going to be able to compare. You need that boots on the ground person to, really understand the value of that property. And because that's the case, I do not see humans going away from the process for quite some time.
So that's a good point, and actually brings me to another part of the conversation I wanted to have with you today, and that's on time management. And obviously that's a big piece of what you do at MyOutDesk. Because if you're not getting rid of people or employees or boots on the ground, you still want to make them more efficient, right? And make your business operate more effectively. What are some of the constraints that you're seeing real estate organizations run into when it comes to organizing people's time or getting employees to work to the best of their ability?
Yeah, I love it. I love that question. And we're not a time management company. We're a talent company. So typically, like a property manager or a commercial guy or gal will come to us and say, hey, we're gaining in revenue now. And what I find is I'm wearing a lot of different hats. And as a solopreneur, kind of making that jump into building a real company where you have employees and people, now the world is so connected because of technology. I was talking to our chief people officer last night, and she and I FaceTime on my iPad, and she had her cell phone. I had my iPad. And to be frank, it didn't feel like we weren't in the same room. I mean, we felt like we were right there talking. I could see her expressions. We could talk. We could banter back and forth. And that is a reality now for the entire world. And, I remember doing business without a cell phone that was, I had a cell phone, but I could just call people. I couldn't, there wasn't text, there wasn't photos, there wasn't FaceTime, there wasn't email. It was just like a flip phone, right? Yeah. And now with technology, the world, and we're so global, we're so connected. And so that has opened up an entire talent pool that we just haven't had access to prior. And the Fortune 500 or the world's 2000, they've been able to access global talent since the 70s and 80s. But now with WebEx and Zoom and all these go-to meetings, all these other programs, you can have conversations with anybody in the world anywhere. So our clients come to us and they say, you know what, I'm really busy right now and I'm working 70, 80 hours. I need to spend time at the gym, or I need to see my kids and my wife someday, or, whatever the case is. Some pain about their time is what we solve. And then we do a straight up consultation where we walk them through what's their next steps. And if they were to give away a portion of their day, or if their team were to give away a portion of their day. I had a client and a good friend of mine on our show a couple weeks ago. And, he has a large organization. He has 50 employees, and he hired 4 of our people to help with customer service because a lot of the calls that his business that they were getting were customer service related. Hey, I need this paperwork updated, or I changed my address, or I need to get this document from my file, or can you tell me who my health provider is? He's a third-party employer for a lot of real estate firms. And so his whole concept around hiring us was, I need somebody to answer the transactional stuff, the easy, get a maintenance person out, or can I get a copy of my check, or where do I send my bill? Those questions out of the way so that his internal staff could love on his clients. And so that's a big deal. That's a big deal for his company. It's a big deal for our company. And that's kind of what we help people do, is a blended model where some of the people are in-house in your office, and then some are outsourced. And we really have helped, over 5,000 people create that blended model.
Sure. And so outside of customer service, where else are you seeing that? And if you can focus a little bit on the real estate side, what are some of the other roles and responsibilities that you're seeing these organizations needing that extra leveraged help of a virtual or outsourced assistant?
Yeah, so I love your question. Look, we're all in the revenue game. You, me, everybody. If you need help driving revenue, that's something that we do. Over half of our clients call us and say, look, I need somebody to answer the phones. I need somebody to call our clients. I need somebody to generate more business by calling our existing clients and asking for repeat or referral or add-on business. So one area that we absolutely serve is just kind of, really being a revenue generating kind of person for a business. So that's one area. The other is marketing coordination. Every business has to generate leads. And those leads need to have the right message sent out. They need to be put into a system. You need to track, client and customer and potential customer kind of interactions. And so we help people with marketing. This podcast is a great example. Elle, who is one of our best people in the world. I love this gal. She reached out to you, Nick, and said, hey, we'd love to have Daniel come on your show. And that's how you and I connected. And so, podcasters, marketers, coordination, running marketing automation and systems, that's a huge area for us to really help somebody grow their business.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because there's only so many hours in the day, and there's so much of it that, and I like the fact that you're talking about the consultation aspect too, because it's really easy to say, I need someone that can answer the phones and direct calls, or to say, I need someone that can process leads as they come through. But we mentioned on an earlier podcast, probably a couple months ago now, that the biggest problem at some of these property management organizations is they can't keep up with the leads that come in, because they're also handling people that are coming face to face into the leasing office. And knowing which ones to prioritize, it makes sense in some instances to prioritize the people walking through the door, but that's not always the case. Especially if someone's calling in because they're from out of town, but they're looking to book in the next week. It plays to stands to reason that you might want to be able to have somebody that can effectively sort through some of that stuff.
I was Nick. This is a great. It's such an interesting timing. I have a friend. He's a Texan, and he and I are in a mastermind together, and we got to travel. I think we were in Vietnam together, and then we went to Japan together. So. I've met this guy, maybe we've been friends for 3 years, and he's kind of, his name is Todd, and he's kind of one of those weird guys. Like, he is just a massive property stud. He literally has $500 million in commercial property that he owns. Okay. So, he knows me, we've traveled together, we've had tons of fun. And I know his business, I know his brother who's involved. And about 6 months ago, they called us and said, look, and you think about large businesses, small businesses, medium businesses, none of that matters. It's like, who has the pain? Their pain was they have 6 different property managers, and they've kind of divvied up all these different commercial properties, really large. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of square feet. And they've got these 6 different property managers, and this one lady who's also a property manager, also the bookkeeper, also runs the system that they have to collect rents. And she answers the phones, and she's doing all these things. And like she literally is working 60, 70 hours. And she's like, my hair has turned gray at this job. And, one day I want to retire, but I don't feel like I can. I can't go on vacation. I can't do anything. So what we've done for them is we've given them an assistant property manager for every single main property manager who can answer the questions. Hey, my AC broke. What do I do? Well, they'll pull up the lease, verify who actually is responsible for that, and then call them back and say, hey, you're responsible or we're responsible. If we're responsible, we're going to send our guy out. If you're responsible, here's 3 referrals of people that we've worked with and we know and we trust. And so just the simple, what I call directing traffic, has given all of his property managers their time back to drive what really matters, which is occupancy and collecting of the rent. When you have almost $500 million of commercial space, there's a lot of opportunity in making sure that you're collecting all the rent on time, that the tenants are actually paying for their portion of the expenses, all of the kind of different, nuances in that business. So and what's wild is in their revenue, it has no effect to their revenue. And what it does is it says, hey, property manager, I value your time, and I want you to be able to have a vacation without having to worry about the wheels falling off, without having to come back to a disaster. So these folks are, sending out maintenance people. They're grabbing copies of the lease. They're inputting the information into Rent Manager, their version of their CRM. They're connecting with the vendors. They're making sure utilities are turned off and on. They're making sure properties are marketed that are vacant, that are actually out there and sent to the brokers, so brokers know that a property is available. So, and all of that stuff is, relatively easy for our folks to do. There is a training piece that has to happen, but, that's with any new employee.
Yeah, I mean, that would happen anyway, which is interesting. And you mentioned this whole traveling thing, so I'd be remiss if I don't mention this mod movement. I'd like to hear you speak about that. Sounds like a pretty kind of fantastic organization that you've put together as kind of part of the MyOutDesk family.
Yeah, so here's what we do. We help entrepreneurs find talent, right? And then we create committed matches. Like that property manager, these people are ecstatic, and they're like, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? So we put really great entrepreneurs together with really great talent in the Philippines. That's our country of origin. And we make a match, and we create committed matches. But then we also extend the movement. So some of the cool things that we've done just this year, we sent a bunch of low-income folks to summer camp in a part of Texas. A good friend of mine runs a nonprofit where, he takes people that have zero opportunities, and they're kids, so these are young kids, and they're still in the impressionable kind of state. So he's taking these guys to a 2-week summer camp and showing them what being an entrepreneur is, why it's important to go to school, what you can get from college, and who should go to college versus who should just not. And so, it's a fun place, and it's a summer camp, and he is changing lives. We've had a couple hundred people go through that program, and the Mod Movement, our nonprofit charity, has funded that. We also, built a house in Ecuador for a family this year. We are right now building old folks' home in the Philippines where we operate. And how we measure that, which is a cool kind of measurement, is how much time our people invest in the projects, how much money we raise from our clients and the people that are in our community, and then how many lives we actually impact. And 100% of the money that we raise goes back into affecting lives. We take absolutely zero money for overhead, which is unusual for a nonprofit. Everybody donates their time to run this nonprofit. And, I'm very, very proud of the work that we do in that. And our clients love that their name can be associated with that kind of impact and positive world change.
100%. And I mean, if you're looking to employ someone and you're able to not only employ someone from the Philippines, for example, but then also to help affect some change in that same region, like you're doubling down and all by just, getting a service or a business that you were going to purchase one way or the other anyway. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah, and we have founding members. So when a client signs up, we have the conversation. Would you like to be involved in this? And we share with them some of the work that we do. And again, we're impacting lives. And some of our folks do $50 a month. Some of our folks do $100. And you'd be amazed at what $100 can do to impact kids' lives. And even in the U.S., those folks that we sent to that camp, I mean, there was a great video with one of the gals. She went to the camp 7-8 years ago, and because of that, she went to school. She started her own business. She has employees. And we're talking about a girl in her early 20s. Yeah. And so when I see that kind of stuff, like my business, our clients, the people who are listening right now who are even thinking that they might need some talent, you guys could be involved in that. You could actually kind of get a piece of that good impact in your world. And so, yeah, I'm completely thrilled with my team and the folks that have kind of supported that.
That's a pretty good segue. If people do want more information about MyOutDesk or even this mod movement, how do people get in touch with you? I know you mentioned a podcast. Obviously, the mod movement's its own thing too, and MyOutDesk information. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I love that question. Here's the thing. We've been in business for 12 years. We've helped over 5,000 entrepreneurs, a lot of property managers, a lot of commercial guys, mortgage guys, residential people. We just want to serve. Like if you have a need and you're listening to this and you're like, gosh, I really need an administrative assistant who can direct traffic, or a marketing person, or a salesperson. My suggestion is text the word SVP. So it's like Scale with Virtual Professionals, SVP, to the number 31996. And you're going to get a copy of our book. So we, because we've helped over 5,000 people, we started to see patterns, and we started to see what works and what doesn't. And so I put my heart and soul into writing this book so that our clients could be successful with our virtual assistants, and also so they can understand what really matters versus what doesn't matter, and some of the shortcuts. I mean, we've learned the fastest way to get somebody up to speed, even for physical employees, and we've put those kind of tips and tricks and what we call scale accelerators into the book. So all you have to do is text the word or the letter SVP to 31996. It's 31996, and you can get a copy of that for free.
Excellent. And I will be sure to put that in our show notes. Daniel, despite all of the technological issues at the beginning of this, I think we have successfully concluded another episode of Building Success. And I thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, man, it's been my pleasure. And I love doing these things, and I love helping people grow and scale their business. So if you guys have a need, man, shoot us a text and we'll be happy to connect. Excellent.
So yeah, if you do want more information, please do. I'll put this again in the show notes, SVP to 31996 to get Daniel's ebook. We'll put links up there to the MyOutDesk website as well. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And that wraps up another episode of Building Success. And until the next time, we will catch you all later.